This presentation is for educational purposes only. American IRA, headquartered in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, is a neutral third-party administrator on behalf of the custodian New Vision Trust Company, a state-chartered trust company based in South Dakota also, and does not offer investment advice or endorsements. We are not responsible for statements made by others, and references to we and us refer to American IRA only. We encourage you to do your own due diligence and consult with qualified professionals before making any investment decisions.
Hello and welcome to another episode of American IRA Cafe. As you may have noticed, I am not the devilishly handsome Kyle Moody. My name's Colden and I am the head of digital engagement for American IRA. And today, since we did not have a regularly scheduled webinar, I thought maybe we can sit down with Kyle and answer some frequently asked questions that we see all the time. He has seen it all. And usually he gets to step off the camera and let somebody else present. Well, we're going to let him present today and answer some of at least my questions and some questions that you guys have had before. So, Kyle, welcome. Hold on, I got it. There we go. Okay. Hey, man, how's it going?
Hey, Colden, it's good. It's going well. How's your week doing so far?
It is Wednesday. We are officially halfway through the week. I am stoked for that.
There we go. Well,
Friday is around the corner.
It is. And it's a pleasure to be here. Love to be able to tackle some of the questions that we know we have day to day. And so I know that you've seen some of these in your space. And I know that it was a good thing that we could put something together for the folks out there. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Now you're the lead of all of the sales department. You have been here. Now give me like a quick elevator pitch. I mean, how long have you been here at American IRA?
Right. So I'm on my 9th year now, headed towards 9. That'll be coming up.
Turning the decade corner.
I know, right? So
yeah.
I came from a background of the real estate industry and both in residential commercial sales and then also residential and commercial property management. So I've seen that angle of it. So a lot of my background is more of the real estate based, but been here with American IRA. Started on the phones and then got all the way up to now, presentations, and then graduated up to the podcast and the webinar, all the things that you think that you'd never get to a level to get to do. And here I am. And you wonder from the beginning, how would I ever be able to share this information? Because it is so vast. But you also want to be able to break down barriers that folks might have and simplify it for them. So it's been good to master both, bring it all together, and we're going to trim through some of those questions today. Hope that we can help some folks out.
Yeah, and you have obviously seen it all. I think some of these are questions that you've been asked all the time. Some of them might be from my head too. I know the biggest one is in terms of if I've got money in a brokerage account right now, right? How do I get that money over to a self-directed, either us or anybody else? Like what, I guess here, before we get into that, you and I have talked about this. Most people that we've talked to don't even know what self-directed means. So help me with that first. So I'm used to the regular stocks, bonds, mutual funds, right? I've seen it. I've got a brokerage account. I might even have an IRA that I started and I've threw some money into, or I've got a 401k. What's the difference between my stocks, bonds, and mutual funds and self-directed?
No, it's a great question. And here's one thing that may help, or it may even confuse. An IRA is an IRA, regardless if it's at Vanguard or Fidelity or Edward Jones or Merrill Lynch or at American IRA. So everything that you know about the foundational parameters of an IRA remain the same. Your contribution limits, ages of those, whether you have the $1,000 kick-in. For right now, for example, IRAs are $7,000 for anyone 49 and under, $8,000 for anyone 50 and older. RMDs for anyone 73 and older when that kicks in. The differences in traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs. They both start at 59 and a half But if it's a Roth, the money has to be in there for 5 years. So all of those things that I just named are going to be the same no matter who your custodian is. The difference is going to be the applicability. And so you just said it, on some of those more traditional houses is where you're going to notice that they're going to focus on the stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, where on the true self-directed custodian and your true self-directed account, you are actually in more control to pick the non-traditional asset, and whether that's going to be real estate, whether it's going to be private lending or investing into some type of syndication, or even precious metals.
Got it. So basically, I can take what I've already saved in maybe a traditional 401k or an IRA, and I can use, say I'm a real estate guy and I've flipped a bunch of houses, I can use my knowledge in that sector to then grow a retirement account.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you're able to do, Colden, is that a lot of people, what we see them doing is that they might want to diversify their portfolio. They may have Apple stock and now they want to invest in Apple Street. Well, the great thing is having a true self-directed IRA, you can do both. So whether it's going to be maybe an old 401k that they have left a company a few years ago, they never did a roll on anything, or whether they already have rolled funds into a traditional IRA, to name a few, the money is either going to be a rollover from a 401k platform into an IRA, or it's going to be a transfer from a like-to-like account, a traditional to a traditional. One thing I'll let you know really quick, when folks are calling me and they want the input, or they'll say advice, we're not fiduciaries, so I can't give any tax, legal, or financial advice, suggestions, or opinions. But what's important here is really the questions that I'm going to ask right out of the gate. Okay, do you have a retirement account? Well, yes. Okay, what type do you have? I don't really know. Okay, well, let's kind of, step back for a second. Do you know if it's a 401k? Well, I did have something at my job. Okay, when you left that job, or are you at that job now, or have you left? Well, I left a couple years ago. Okay, great. Do you remember, or do you know if you moved those funds out yet? No, I think they're still in that 401k. Okay. What type of funds are sitting in that? And sometimes I will actually, they will take a pause, because, and it's okay, but it is not surprising the number of folks that really don't know or understand the funds that they have. They may have a 401k that's all traditional dollars. Those are all pre-tax dollars. Those funds went into that account and are being matched accordingly from funds where the taxes have not been taken out. They can also have a Roth 401k where that is all tax-free money in there. And it's also not uncommon for them to have a little bit of both. So if they want to take their entire 401k, for example, and roll that into an IRA, and they do have both. Well, now, or a self-directed IRA rather. Well, now they're actually opening up two accounts, a self-directed traditional and a self-directed Roth. But you don't have to be concerned with the fact of opening up an account that you have to move the whole thing. You don't. You can open up as an account and fund it with as much or as little as you like, as long as at American IRA here, you at least have the $750 minimum cash balance in there at all times.
So you hit one of my questions for sure, which was, if I don't want to roll everything over, I can roll over pieces of it. I can roll over a small amount. And you said our minimum $750. That's not a whole lot. I can start with that and then move over more money. And I'm assuming I can contribute to a self-directed with the same maximum caps per year as any other IRA or retirement account.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I had noted earlier, is that contributions are the same for a more traditional type of house as opposed to the self-directed. The one thing that you want to make sure of, though, is if you have a traditional and you want to have a self-directed traditional as well, and you don't want to completely empty the traditional to put everything in the self-directed. So you want to have some things in the stock market and also a piece of real estate, for example. Can you do that? Absolutely. Can you have a 9 to 5 where you have a 401k, and can you have a self-directed traditional? Yes. The main thing that you want to concern yourself, though, when it comes to your contributions is not over contributing. Okay. So, in other words, what I mean by that is if you have two IRAs, a regular traditional and a self-directed traditional, you cannot fund that with 7,000 in each one. Okay. So if you're 49 or under, you would need to bridge that 7,000 one way or another. 4 and 3, 6 and 1, 7 all in one. But you just got to make sure that you're not over contributing with, say, in this example, a total of 14,000.
You can't double dip.
Exactly.
Can't put 7 here and 7 there. And then
Right.
that same limit is on either IRA account also, right? Like you can't put 7 in a traditional and 7 in a Roth.
That is correct.
Yeah. Okay. Now I've got money somewhere else at another brokerage. And that was, I guess, one of my first questions is how do I get that in to an American account?
Right. So if it's an IRA that you've already got, it's actually just going to be as simple as a transfer. And the way that that looks, obviously, there's a process to everything. We have our processes. The IRS has processes that they want to see where there's going to be a flow of funds, okay? The banking commissions and so on and so forth. So it's as simple as actually just getting on the phone with me or hopping onto our website and filling out the application and getting that in. Once the application is in and processed, then one of the things we're going to send to you immediately is going to be, in this case, the transfer paperwork. Transfer paperwork is one of the only things that you're going to feel a little archaic about because it actually does have to be printed out, signed or filled out in longhand, but then signed because we have to have the wet signature. Okay. And then once you sign that, you actually just scan it and email it right back over to our staff. And then we at American IRA, pardon me, facilitate the transfer of those funds. So whatever, company you have, whether it's Morgan Stanley, Edward Jones, Northwestern Mutual, what have you, then our staff knows where to reach out. You are filling this information out for us to be able to contact these companies, but we're making that reach out to them and getting those funds in. The other thing to consider is it doesn't happen overnight. It can take 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the outbound custodian, to get the funds in. So I always tell folks, if you are looking to jump on any type of deal, you want to make sure that you're getting your account open expeditiously so that we can start that transfer process and make sure that we have enough time to get that in before you move forward with your transaction.
Better to get it in early and not need it right away than to need it right away and not have access to it, right? If you got a deal that's pending or something like that. So from the time that I fill out that paperwork, obviously we've got whatever other custodian is going to take their time limits to get things transferred over to an account, a self-directed account. What do you see as the main amount of time? Like how much time should I expect from when I give you a ring, first time we start talking through everything? How long do you see it usually taking from both transfer side and then our setup side, so I can plan out my next deal?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I will tell you, it's a question I get multiple times a week, and pretty much in every call that I've got, if somebody's looking to set up a deal. My main answer is from the time of the initial conversation to when they want to move forward and complete a transaction, the day that we're going to move the funds on their behalf, I tell them to plan on 30 days. I know that sounds like a long time, but really in the world of real estate, it can take that long for closings anyway. When you are dealing with a self-directed retirement account and that's actually the bank, okay, yeah, you're going to notice a little bit more paperwork associated with the deal because half of it is with your retirement account, right? It's not with, a normal bank. It's not with a lender or anything. Your retirement account is the bank, and this property doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the retirement account. So everything has to be in place as they go through compliance, and we have to make sure that the funds are where they need to be. So I always tell folks, when you fill out your application, plan on, 3 or 4 days for us to be able to get the account open. And the important piece in this is that, it is all predicated on how people fill this out and what they have. Things that you need to have at the ready when you are filling out your application. Your
Yeah, give me
driver's
that
license.
list.
Yeah. You need to have your driver's license.
Okay.
You need to have your credit card handy. And the most important thing, you need to have your most recent custodial statement. People say, "Oh, what is that?" Okay. If you're with Vanguard, you want to have your most recent Vanguard statement either laying right there in front of you to scan and upload into the online application, or you want to be able to go to that company's website, download that onto your desktop, because you're going to upload that shortly. And our application process won't even allow you to continue without it. So that's important to note. You have those 3 things to be able to move forward. You will use all 3 of them in an upload of some sort in the application process. Once the team receives everything, then yes, the onus becomes back on the applicant to, when they receive that transfer paperwork, to get that back into us as quickly as possible, so that then we are reaching out to ask that outbound custodian for the funds, and they're going to be sending that over. You're directing the show. You're telling us how you want us to reach out. You're telling us how they're supposed to send the funds back, whether it's going to be a check or an ACH or a wire. Okay. And then once that comes in, then you're able to start your transaction. And once you complete all of your paperwork, your investment paperwork that is now in this packet, and once our transactions team receives a complete and correct set of everything, then they're turning that deal within 4 days. So I tell folks, I know that 30 days sounds like a lot, but hey, if you start filling out something before a weekend gets here, and then we have to wait sometimes 2 or 3 weeks for the outbound custodians to get us the money, that's always going to be the longest process right there. Well, and then 4 days on the turn, once we receive all your complete and correct paperwork, it can actually end up being about 4 business weeks. So just a good rule of thumb, a good target. You don't want to get something pending. And not to have, a really long, in-depth answer here for you. Everybody knows I'm a little long-winded on these, but this is important information, is that it's not impossible for someone to have a gentleman's handshake or have a deal pending, as long as there hasn't been any cash moved at all. Okay. It cannot be moved towards any transaction and then the IRA be set up at a later time to hold this piece of property. So we're not even really going to get into that, but just know, if you know that your next deal is going to be with a self-directed retirement account, before you drive by a property, fall in love with it, and even scratch out a contract on a cocktail napkin to hand it over to somebody, it's good to go ahead and get that account open and even partially funded, so that you can start moving forward with things like earnest money and due diligence and so on and so forth.
That makes sense. Yeah. So now, when I get it funded, right, I put my money in there, and this is capital preservation is important, right? So fees are important. What kind of fees? I know this because we got to talk about this at FinCon a lot, and how impressive kind of the way American structures their fees. But once I throw that money in, I don't have a deal yet, but I'm driving the neighborhood, I'm doing the rounds, I'm looking for that next deal. What happens to that cash that's sitting in there, and when do our fees start kicking in?
Yeah, great. So yeah, I know exactly what you're asking on this one. So there's a lot of things about the fees at American IRA that sets us apart from a lot of other companies out there in the space. Okay, number one, if it's an IRA application, it's a $52 one-time setup fee. Okay, and you're going to notice that that's going to be where your credit card comes into play on the application. Got to pay for that on there. You're able to pay your fees either by that credit card or by the undirected cash in the account. But it's important to note that when you set up an account with American IRA, we do not charge you an annual fee that day. When your funds arrive to our office and we get that placed into your retirement account, we don't charge you an annual fee then either. Your annual fee only starts the day that you direct us to do your first movement of funds from your account, whatever that is, whether it's going to be a transfer out for some reason. Most of the time it's going to be for the investment itself. So let's say here we are right now at September the 24th. Let's say your account gets opened on the 29th. And let's say your funds don't arrive until, say, October the 15th. Okay. Now, let's say that you don't find that first deal, you don't land your first piece of real estate on the day that that's when we're going to direct us to move the funds until January the 28th of 2026. Well, on January the 28th is the day that we're going to move those funds. Therefore, it's going to initiate your anniversary date with us. We are going to charge the annual fee plus any of the applicable operational costs that went along with that. There's two annual fees that somebody might choose. And I always ask folks, well, how active do you see yourself being with the account? And if it's somebody that says, look, I'm just going to do this one investment into this private entity and it's going to be a 5-year payout, let's say, but that's the only thing I'm going to do with it. Okay, well, that person might be a candidate for our basic account, which is $285 a year, flat fee. The day that we do the transaction, it is also a $95 transaction fee. That's the act of actually doing the transaction. And the nominal processing fees. Did you want us to wire the funds? Did we need to cut a check out? You know, what was that? Now, any of the dividends that are coming back in, really the only thing you're looking at on that is, well, how are those coming back in? Because those are not going to be transaction fees. Transactions to us are very specific. It's when we move the funds to purchase or sell or fund an asset, okay, or something dissolving and that asset is done and those come back in and we close that out. Now there may be somebody out there that says, well, I know I'm going to be doing probably 2 or 3 private notes out, promissory notes out to folks throughout the year, so I automatically know that I'm going to be doing more than one. Okay, fantastic. So if you're doing 2 or more transactions a year, we offer the unlimited, which is $450. There are no $95 transaction fees with that one, just the nominal hard costs that go along with it. You can do as many transactions as you want in a given 365 days for that $450. While the money is sitting in the account, it's going to be sitting in a non-interest bearing trust account.
So my fees don't even start until I move that money into some deal or tell you guys to invest it into something.
That is correct.
It can sit in there and be ready to go, ready for the trigger to get pulled until that deal comes along.
That is correct. And if it's not a first, if you haven't done a first transaction yet, then those fees would not even be assessed.
That seems pretty good. And I know we were talking about this a lot at FinCon. When's the last time the fees went up?
Our fees have not increased in over 20 years. And it's not just the fees that we currently have. What's really cool about it is no matter how much your account grows in value from the work that you did to grow that account, not us. All we are is the record keeper to the account, doing, and moving the money where you legally and lawfully instruct us to do so. Okay. You found those pieces of real estate. You found the borrower. You did all the legwork. We're just moving the money. And because of that, we believe in the true investor, that it's not what you make, it's what you keep. So no matter if you brought in $10,000 and grew it to 110,000 or $500,000, it's still just $285 or $450 a year.
Now, if I start at the 285, can I graduate up? I'm getting a little more invested in this investment, right? I'm looking at more deals now because now you got me hooked. Mm-hmm. How do I graduate up to that 450 class if I want to do more deals?
Yeah. So, and the question can actually go the other way as well. Hey, if I started with the 450, I did a lot of deals, but now I really only need to just sit on these and hold them. Can I even go down? You can go up or down, changing your account option anytime you want. You can make that notation. If I'm in the 285 and I want to go to the unlimited, you can make that change at any time, but it will not take effect until your next anniversary date. So for example, earlier when I was talking about if somebody did their first transaction on January the 28th, then on January the 28th is when we would have charged the 285 or the 450, depending on how active they were going to be, right? That following January 28th is going to be the anniversary date when they would be assessed their annual fee again. Okay. We wouldn't roll them around to the end of December and clip them again. So they're only really getting about 11 months out of it. No, they get a full 365 days on that. And if sometimes between January the 28th of 2026 and 2027, they say, hey, I want to go up to that 450, they can make that note and refill out that new fee schedule, but it just won't take effect until the following year. Another example, another way to look at it is it's almost like open enrollment insurance.
I was going to say, it kind of sounds a little bit like open enrollment. It's kind of the same thing. So
exactly,
at your anniversary date is when those new fees would roll over.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. Now, this one's not mine because I'm going to need you to fully explain what this is and where our fees come from. But in terms of closures, well, it could go over my head pretty quickly. But in terms of closure fees and transfer fees, I'm assuming that has to do with real estate, closing on real estate fees, and what we charge for when, say, we found that property and when we start closing. What is American's involvement in that, and what are the fees that are associated with a closing?
Yes. If you're working with, if you're doing a typical real estate transaction, and if anybody's out there done that before, you know that there's the HUD statement. All of that is going to all be built up, and keeping in mind that you are not going to be the buyer of the property. Rather, the buyer, noted all the way back to the beginning of the offer to purchase and contract, is the retirement account. So the entire offer to purchase and contract, deed, title, HUD statement, everything is going to be in the name of the retirement account and comes into American IRA. That's also going to be part of that closing packet, where all those fees are totaled up, and that's how much money we know needs to be moved from the account to the attorney's office, say in wired funds for the closing. Okay. If it is the first transaction, that is where we would assess the 285 or the 450. If it's the 285 account option, that's also where we're going to assess the $95 transaction fee. And then any of the nominal hard costs that can go along with it. In this example, wiring the fees, $30 wire fee. So these are compiled, put into an invoice, and that's how much we know that the client is being assessed for that transaction. And there's two ways that can be paid. It can either be paid by the credit card that we're going to have on file. Remember, you got to have that at the very beginning when you're putting the application together, or you can elect to have that paid by the undirected cash in your account.
So it can come from and I would assume, so the big oopsie doopsie on a self-directed would be any time that I personally take action over the funds that my self-directed IRA is supposed to own, right? So the last time that I can cross that line, I guess, are these fees. After that, once the money's in the account, I don't own the property. I don't own the rental property. I don't technically own anything in that account. The account owns the property, the rentals, the notes, whatever it is, right?
I think one of the things you might be asking me, Colden, is what are the things that I can personally get involved in this case, a piece of real estate once the property is purchased by my IRA? Another way to look at it is that, hey, I'm a seasoned investor. I've bought plenty of properties before. I, like to get my hands dirty, be hands-on with these things. If I want to buy some of the, say, appliances, if I'm upgrading things, I want to go in and do the you're pretty handy, Colden.
I can do the work. I can do the work. I'll knock out the drywall today.
Exactly. And you've done that on a lot of your stuff when you build your your studios and things like this. That's great to do on things that you own outside of your retirement account that have your name and your name only stamped on those. Okay. The minute that the line is crossed that the property is owned by the self-directed retirement account, and even if you have partnered with yourself on with your self-directed account, keeping in mind that you are a disqualified party to the account. And if anybody wants to really discuss that, we can have that on a side conversation if you want to give me a call. But any time that any funds whatsoever are associated in, and for this example, a real estate deal, you only can look at this as you're the financier. Okay. So you can walk through a property and make a list of things that need to be done. If you're doing some upfitting and maintenance on it before you hand it over to a property management company to handle, if it's going to be a tenant occupied property. Okay. That's great. But you can't go in and paint the walls. You can't go mow the lawn. You can't even screw in a light bulb. No sweat equity can go into any property. No self-dealing. If you're a closing attorney, you can't be the attorney that closes the deal on your property. Okay. There's certain people that, depending on their relationship to you, they're called disqualified persons or parties. They can't be involved in the deal or coming in after the fact on anything to do with this property that is owned by your self-directed IRA. So one great example that I remember one of our clients telling me one time is he had his personal property was just down the street from a property that his retirement account owned. And I thought, well, how does that work? You drive by it every day and you see the grass getting long, and if a tenant is not in there, how do you not, want to go down and take care of the property? He said, well, it's simple. I worked really hard for the funds that I put into the account, and I treat that property as it is 8 states away. And so how would I be able to make sure that property is taken care of that far away? Because I'm not going to hop a plane and go check on that property all the time. And he said, so I use a property management company who, takes care of 100% of the issues for 10% of the rent and anything else that they need. And they bill and or send the net proceeds over to American IRA every month when the rent is paid. So that's just a good rule of thumb. When it's inside of the self-directed IRA, keep it as arm's length and keep everything as clean as possible. Yeah. Does that help? Does that help answer your question?
That helps out. So vacation homes, don't put in your self-directed. You can't do that. You can't go in. I think we got a question one time, can I buy a home for my kid and put that in my IRA? No way.
Well, I want to clean up the first part of that right there. Yes,
Sure.
You can absolutely buy a vacation property with your IRA. What you cannot do is ever use that vacation property personally to go stay even one night. That is correct.
Right.
So Colden says, hey, I want to use my self-directed IRA to buy a vacation condo at the beach. That's wonderful. He can never stay there one night. If he wants to go check out the property upon purchase to, again, make that list and get some things taken care of in there before it's turned over to the probably on-site property management company, he can do that, but he needs to stay down the street at a hotel or something. He can't even stay in that unit one night, even though he's making up the list to be able to beautify the property. Your other example, no, you cannot buy a property for your children. Disqualified parties really quickly are the account holder themselves, their spouse, any entities that either or both of them control, anyone in their upline to infinity, and anyone in their downline and their spouses. One other thing you want to look at is you can't loan money to any of those people. So you can't loan money to your offspring for them to be able to buy a car. One other example that I've heard over the years, and I actually just had this last week as well, and we can hop to any of your other questions, is if somebody wanted to buy a property in a college town, say a college condo or a quadplex or something like that, and then in a few years they still have that property and their kid ends up going to college there, they say, oh great, I can put this information, or I can put this have this property. If there's a vacancy there, I can put my kid in that one property. They can kind of help manage everything. Nope, they can't. Your kid would never be able to spend one night in those properties either.
No disqualified. So stay as at arm's length, as far away, stay 6 states over, like you said. Just
as arm's length and as clean as possible.
Yep. Right. And so a lot of, I mean, I would hear this, a lot of people would probably hear this and go, God, that's a lot of, I'm a real estate guy. I know the market. I know how to put the work into it to get a good flip on it. Why am I dealing with this many rules, restrictions, and regulations on this style of an investment? And pretty massive, but what's the big payoff for having to follow all these rules, basically?
Well, it's simple because it's not your checkbook. It's not your uh, personal savings account. It's a retirement account. So you're taking the knowledge that you have and how you've amassed things on the outside of the retirement account, but now you crossing over the line. I tell folks sometimes, think about it fourth dimensionally, is that you're taking all your talents and you're going to be able to make the same type of purchases. But remember, it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to your retirement account. The IRS, has allowed this gift, so to speak, if you can put the words IRS or gift in the same sentence, that you're able to use retirement funds to purchase something that you know and can have control about. Real estate, private loans, precious metals, investing into a private company. You're allowed to do these things, but along with that gift, if you will, just are some, the rules and regulations that they do have that you have to follow. It's not so much everything that the IRS tells you that you can do with your retirement account, because, as you've seen just from these questions alone, and from anything else that somebody wants to talk to me about, it's very vast how you can use this. There's just a handful of things that you can't do.
They don't want to tell you what you can do. They just really want to make sure they tell you what you can't do.
Yeah.
But I guess the biggest payoff is the tax incentives of keeping something inside of the profits that come from a rental property or purchasing and then flipping and selling a home. All those profits go back into your retirement and are either tax deferred or tax free, depending on what kind of account you have, right? I mean, that's the carrot at the end of the regulation stick, is that you can save on your tax bill the same way that you would on stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, but you're getting to do this on a piece of property or a note or something else, right?
Yeah, I mean, if somebody is investing in real estate outside of their retirement account, one thing that they know that they have to face at the end of every year is the taxation that can come along with that. Now, they're going to talk about the depreciation and how some of that stuff can come off of that tax bill, and that's great. But, when it's on the inside of a retirement account, you can even use a Roth for this example. You buy that exact same property with a Roth account. Well, you just made that purchase of that house or property or what have you with tax-free funds. That also extends to all and any and all the profit that comes in on that property. So the rent that comes in month after month, and the amount of profit and rent, especially if it was purchased 100% from the Roth account, all of that money at the end of every year, you're not paying a dime in taxes, not just that year, but ever. Okay. So then, let's say that thing cash flows for 10 years and you go to sell that property. Now you've got all that mountain of cash sitting in the retirement account as well. You start taking that out in the form of distributions, which you're also not going to be taxed on. Since it's a Roth account, you'll never notice taxation on that. And that's, to your point, that's a heck of a carrot.
Right. That kind of makes it worth kind of jumping through those extra hurdles or staying at the hotel down the street instead of at your property on the beach, if you can avoid that level of taxation. Because like you said, if it cash flows for 10 years, you're looking at a pretty substantial amount of capital gains that you don't have to pay taxes on if it's
exactly.
Pretty impressive stuff. Now, obviously, if you're a disqualified party, I can't invest in that real estate. I can't go buy my vacation home. I can't buy my kid's vacation home. Are there any other types of real estate that would be offline, out of bounds for American or for this type of an account?
Yeah, I would say, obviously anything that somebody thinks that they want if they're buying a small sliver of a neighboring lot so that they can expand their own property, something like that isn't going to be allowed. I think one of the things to really look at is all the different types of things that you can invest in. Whether it's going to be a single family, 2 bedroom, 2 bath, little cottage somewhere that's going to be a great rental. Vacant lots, raw land. You can also do quadplexes, triplexes, and also commercial property. Once in a while, you will hear somebody wanting to say either automobiles or things like this, and that is going to be a different animal that you want to make sure that it is done the right way. Is it possible for there to be the trades on the automobiles, or say like a car service? Well, there's a really fine line of, well, where are you going to park it? Okay. Questions that I got asked yesterday. I want to get a piece of raw land that's going to be in an HOA development that we don't know what we're going to do with it, but we want to buy it with our IRA for right now. Hey, could my son and I ever hike on that property? Can we ever, camp on it? And the answer is no. Just because there's not a house on it that you can't live in, you can't use the property for your personal benefit either.
Got it. That makes sense. If I'm, like you said, arm's length. So obviously, if you've got a question about it, probably better to not end up getting yourself in trouble. Property managers are great for that. If I don't want to invest in real estate and I've got this money sitting with American in a self-directed, what other types of asset classes outside of just the real estate, which obviously has a ton of upside, what other assets do you guys have or are available to me? I know we've hosted webinars that kind of explain some of these, but what other, asset classes do you see going into these?
Well, I'll tell you that really what comes in at number two, real estate across the industry is always going to be, one of the top ones, because there's so many facets to it and you can invest a lot in this. But there are folks that may say, hey, I've been in the real estate game. Well, I'm really kind of getting to the point where I don't really want to get back into it, whether it's my retirement account or not. Those folks, or the same folks who say, golly, I'm so hands-on my property, I can't imagine somebody else having to take care of my property. That just kills me. And so those folks, believe it or not, and I've seen it firsthand time and time again, they actually become some of the best private money lenders with their retirement account. Okay, so that's number two on the list. That's the most popular. To where there might be folks out there that want to be, that want to build their real estate portfolio like you might have, but they might not have the capital to get started. Well, now, because of everything that you've done on the outside over all the years and amassed, say, some of this passive income, well, if you were to also have a self-directed account where you were able to move over any retirement funds or make your contributions, what have you, you can actually start loaning that money out now to those individuals so that they can get started maybe the same way that you did. So private lending is huge. Investing in private equities, private companies. Okay. Is there a syndication company where your IRA is going to be an LP, for example, that's going to invest in some overall type of LLC that is then going to go out and say, buy an apartment complex in East Tennessee, right? So then that LLC company, they're going to be the boots on the ground doing all the stuff, paying all the taxes and say paychecks for folks on the property and so on and so forth. And as the dividends come back in, that's what comes back into your retirement account. So that's an example of what a syndication may be on that. Is it a private company that you are investing in, that they might be a private lender out, and of course those returns come back into your retirement account as well. There's also precious metals, whether it's the gold coins, silver, platinum, palladium, all the different things that you can invest in the precious metals space, gold, and keeping in mind that you can't hold that yourself, but it's got to be at a depository, and all of that can be explained to you as well. So I would say that's really some of the top four right there that you're looking at. There can be some other creative things that people might want to put their funds in. And, sometimes we need to look at that, but you can always call and ask about it.
Yeah, that's a perfect reason to give you a call and talk about what deal you got rolling around in your head. Shameless plug here for our webinar series. I know we have people on every week and you do a great job talking to them and interviewing them and digging into different asset classes and different ways to invest self-directed funds to a bunch of different things. So check out this channel for more information about that, because we've done a great job of collecting some of that stuff. Now, how do you make sure that all of these transactions stay IRS compliant? We already talked about IRS loves to write rules about what you can't do. How do you guys make sure that we stay compliant?
I will tell you, Colden, on that the onus really does fall on the client. Okay. It is not our job. And people who know me know that I'm not that's not my job kind of person. But in this realm, it is not the job of your self-directed custodian to make sure that the investment that you are bringing is prohibited or not. We're really not I mean, unless something is just absolutely red flag, flashing neon sign. Hi, I want to open up a retirement account. I want to use these funds to buy my primary residence. We're hoping to move in next month. Can't wait to do it. Well, I mean, now that right there is obviously I can say, hey, that sounds pretty lofty. Can't do it. Okay. But, when you start talking about, say LLCs, investments into these syndication deals, how loans might be, who that's going to, if it's layers of an onion, you're not going to find anyone, at least at our company and at probably other companies throughout the entire industry, that are going to peel back that and let you know whether something is okay to invest in or not. By the time you open up your account, you move your funds, you've been educated, you've seen these webinars, you've asked lots of questions on the sales deck. Okay. We get very in depth on some things that by the time you're bringing your investment, it really is on you that you are bringing in the legitimate investment, that you're now directing us where to send the money.
Self-directed is true self-directed. So I got to make sure that my I's are dotted and T's are crossed. I always flip those two. My I's are dotted, my T's are crossed before I come to you with a deal, because it's not necessarily on you guys. You're not legal, right? We're directing where those funds are going. We're custodians of the account, but we're not legal, and we're not a CPA to go through and make sure that deal is where it needs to be.
That's true. And what I will tell you, just to build on that right there, is to say that plenty of times in a call, and sometimes I will have to answer the question 2 or 3 times the exact same way, not to upset folks, or not that I don't know the answer, but if it's a true taxable event question, if they are drilling down and they have a specific legal question, I can't answer it. Folks are always encouraged. You really need to build your team when you're thinking about doing self-direction. Do you have a good CPA? Yes. Okay. Do you have a good CPA that understands the nuances of self-direction and what you're looking to do? And if they don't understand it, look, that's not uncommon, and it's okay. Maybe that's not their space, but build your legal and tax team who understands the nuances of what you're wanting to do with this retirement account. And they're going to be able to answer a lot of those compliance questions for you, because we're just not going to be able to do it.
I was thinking about that as you were explaining it to me. It's really important to have that team around you. Like, make sure you've got a good CPA, make sure you've got a good attorney that you can throw these things to as part of the team. And then American obviously helps facilitate all those deals and make sure that the account stays compliant up to, our ability to. In terms of, we got to talk about our fees, and those fees are, I think, one of, if not the lowest in the industry. Then the other thing that, we've gotten to talk a lot about is that one of the issues with certain brokerages is you call customer service, you get sent 6 dozen emails,
Mm-hmm.
you call customer service, and then you get transferred to a call center. And then you get transferred to an AI bot that doesn't understand you, and you ask for a representative, and then you start screaming representative, and then you get nowhere, and you get another 3 emails. Obviously, we have a different core competency, different level of expertise, and where we see our product. So if I call you up, what's my experience like that's different than that call center runaround? And how does American guide me through from transferring my money in? Where am I going to get, bounced to through this, through the process of setting up my account?
The most important part of this answer can be summed up in 5 words, Colden, and that's this: we pick up the phone. We pick up the phone.
Right.
It is not a call center. It is not a phone tree. We have a wonderful receptionist that people love to be able to speak with. And sometimes if she's at lunch or on another call and doesn't pick up the phone, they're like, man, where's Vivian? I didn't get to hear Vivian's voice today. And the great thing about that is if Vivian doesn't pick up the phone, somebody else in the office will. Okay. We offer people that hometown bank feel that, when you call in, and especially if you're a regular, if you're calling in, you're doing a lot of deals. Well, heck, you actually may even know your transaction staff pretty well, and they're going to know you. We're all going to know you, because with American IRA, you're not a number. You're not really an account number. You are an individual to us, and that actually starts with us picking up the phone. One thing that we did in FinCon, and one thing that I did at a presentation in St. Louis, is to let people know, hey, look, you can listen to people talk on stage. You can see people at conferences and so on and so forth. But it's like, well, if I want to go ahead and set my account up, who am I really calling? Who's the person on the phone? And it's me. Okay. So you're hearing from me right now, and it's not just tongue in cheek, because I will be the person that you speak with. If it's actually my line that you call, or if I'm available, I'm the one that you'll speak with. We have, other of our sales reps as well, but it is actually somebody, in company. This is not going to be somebody at a call center somewhere. These are folks with years of experience at American IRA specifically. Now, that's just the call in to get maybe basic information and get started. Okay. When you get your account opened and you become a full client, then, you're able to start calling into that main line again, where we're going to pick up the phone. And depending on your need, hey, it could be just a simple client services question, a general question on your account. Client services are going to take care of you. Do you need to speak to someone about a new transaction that you're going to get started? Well, by all means, we're going to make sure that you are going to get into the transaction department, and there you will probably speak with somebody who helped you on your last transaction. So there's a great feeling about that you already know who more than likely is going to be on the other end of the phone before they ever pick up.
That's a huge differentiation, right? Is we pick up the phone and you know who you're going to get to talk to, and that's a huge, big bank execution with small bank feel is really important, and that's tough to find. So I think it's a good balance, and it's definitely. I mean, I've been out at conferences with you and watched you pick up that phone. So you are the guy on the other line, and if not, it's somebody else that's actually picking up the phone and has access and knows your account, not just sitting in a call center somewhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Last question for you. I know we've talked too much. I've taken too much of your time, but I appreciate you stepping away for this hour from the call desk to answer some of these questions.
That's my pleasure.
At the end of the year, obviously everybody gets the mailers of tax forms. What do we get from American? What does American take care of? What should I be looking out for? What do you need from me? That end of, we got to make sure everything's done, buttoned up, taken care of at the end of the year. So what are things that I should be looking for from American, and what should American be expecting from me?
Sure, and everybody's going to be different, but basically it's this: at the end of the year, we're always going to provide you with any and all paperwork that you're going to need to, of course, get together with your CPA before tax time. And the one thing that we need back is your FMV, your fair market value or fair market valuation, depending on if you've seen it said that way before. And that's going to be whatever your assets are. You are getting you're getting the that fair market value on that asset and getting that back into us where we file that away.
Perfect. I know we were at FinCon, we were talking about FMVs and making sure we got those in on time. And so that's the definite, like, keep that in your head. That's what we need to get turned into American at the end of the year.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, man. Thank you so much. This has been, I feel like I've learned a lot. I hope everybody else got to learn a lot. I appreciate your time, man. You are a wealth of knowledge.
You're too kind.
No, thank you. It's always fun to get to sit in and learn a little bit from you. I'll tell you what, I stole your intro and I already feel bad about that, but I will give it to you to give us the outro and throw us to the next episode next time, man. So it's all on you.
All right. Well, we'll see what we got here. Listen, we really appreciate your time today. It's always a privilege to be able to sit here and be on this end of the screen or on the other end of the phone, because what it really comes down to is that we're helping you and that we're here and making sure that you're educated so that when you open up your account with us, you know what you're going to be doing and what there is to be expected. So if you are a repeat client of ours and you're just sharpening the saw because you're a seasoned investor, well, we're always glad that you're coming back to maybe get these questions answered. But then also, if you're brand new, if this is getting ready to be your leap and this is what you needed to hear to get started, then don't hesitate to come over to our website at AmericanIRA.com. Feel free to get some more education tips on there. You'll be able to set up a consultation with any of us in the sales department. You can even call me directly, and I'll be more than happy to schedule some time with you, and we'll get you all started. So until next time, when we meet on another production of the IRA Cafe that's powered by American IRA, we hope that you have enjoyed this, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the future. Thanks so much.
This presentation is for educational purposes only. American IRA, headquartered in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, is a neutral third-party administrator on behalf of the custodian New Vision Trust Company, a state-chartered trust company based in South Dakota also, and does not offer investment advice or endorsements. We are not responsible for statements made by others, and references to we and us refer to American IRA only. We encourage you to do your own due diligence and consult with qualified professionals before making any investment decisions.